1:32 Central Time.
Love it.
Dude, I'm so grateful. I mean, I know we just spent some time together in our mastermind call with GoBundance, which was super incredible. And we spent some time here kind of chopping up before we went live. But I know you personally. I know you to be a human being, one of the most humble guys that I've ever met. With the brands that you've helped create impact for, I mean, your Rolodex and what you have done is really freaking impressive. So I could spend the next like 15 minutes bragging on you. But what I would love to do instead is maybe just like high level synopsis of who you are and what you have done. And I mean, just throwing out a couple of names here because everybody loves the network equity of like social proof. You've worked with people like Shark Tank's Matt Higgins and Kevin Harrington. You've worked with VaynerMedia, David Meltzer, Hal Elrod of The Miracle Morning, who I love dearly. And you have a company called On Air Brands. Can you tell us a little bit more about working with those people? Maybe give a compressed version of your history and how, tell everyone a little bit about On Air Brands and how you add value.
Yeah. No, first off, dude, thank you for asking me to be on this live LinkedIn, dude. It's actually my first. I've listened and I've learned, but it's the first time I'm actually a part of it. So thank you, man. I feel honored.
It's not your first time. Like, your brand is helping podcasters. So like you're not, it's not a foreign concept to you to be in front of the microphone, but doing it in a live setting is a little bit more raw, a little bit more like, dude, like I'm always on edge. I'm like, oh, what am I, if I mess up on something or whatever, like, I can't be copy edited or edited in general.
Yeah. I love live, dude, whether it's in person or it's virtual. We used to do a lot of live virtual. We used to do both a lot. It's not unfamiliar. But the LinkedIn platform is new to as far as the live. I know they used to do remember back in the day, the Clubhouse scene, and LinkedIn started to do. So I used to listen in. One of my mentors, and I loosely call him a friend because he does return my texts. That's how I define. If you're, how quickly do you return my text? But Christo, just a wealth of knowledge, and I learned so much from him. But yeah, through LinkedIn Live, it's a great platform. So yeah, you're doing it right. As far as all the people that I've been connected to over the years, I'll fast forward to how that's benefited now, because I went in without a real strategy or game plan. All I know is that I wanted to be famous and I wanted to understand how that could be parlayed into business. So I was doing the two things at the same time, never really knowing what that would all bring. So fast forward today, I've kind of reflected on all that and all the people that I've learned so much from, all the people that you mentioned in the Vaynerverse and Hal, and working with all these professionals that were doing amazing things when I had just stepped out of corporate for, almost, 20 plus years. I was like, let me just get in the room with these people. I have no idea what I'm going to learn. I have no idea what it's going to turn into. So fast forward, it's given me some sort of street cred to have worked with those folks. So I borrowed, I like to call it brand through association. That's one strategy and tactic that I've learned to sort of label and appreciate. But I would honestly say, dude, I didn't know if I did that with the fullest of integrity at the time. I was probably so hot and eager to win quickly and create a multi-million-dollar business like overnight, which for those of in that process or have done it, no, that's not realistic. But if you can create a platform for others, that's what I've learned is if I have a stage and I invite people to it, they most likely will say yes, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a live event, whether it's a small local event. People want to stand on stage and shout their story from the mountains and say, hey, look at me and look at what I've done. And this is what you can learn from me. And it's just a wonderful way to have this reciprocal sort of energy. And that's really honestly where it all started from. Now, I'll also say that comes with you investing in them. So whether it was with Vayner, Eventually, I did buy into some of their programs, one specifically called the 4Ds, where they mentored us in our business. And then with Hal, like we became, friends at the time when he was coming to speak at our event. But we invested in him. We were like, hey, dude, how much do you need? Everything was shut down at the time. Joey, it was like really hard to like throw events. We would have had him live, but everything was closed. So he did a virtual event and he just crushed. So it was like little things like that. If you have a platform, holy moly, you can really, really amplify and quickly get to a lot of these people that you look up to. Just access is really where it's at.
Mm. I love the I always say this in like our team meetings or meetings with clients, because I think everybody ultimately has the same goal in business. We're trying to build brand equity, whether that's individual equity and you're trying to build a personal brand, or you're trying to build your company's brand equity, whatever it may be. Ultimately, we all want the same things. We want to thrive. We want a platform to be able to share our stories and add value and glean value from others. And whether we do that through the medium or the mechanism of events or a podcast or, social media, and trying to shout it out there and see who clicks the like, smashes the like button. Like we're all searching in some way for very similar things. And so now you have removed or eliminated the events from sort of your portfolio, but you used to do big events. And I'm just curious, like what was it like doing the big event? What did you learn now that you're on the other side of the event, in regard to like, advice, in terms of like, you talked about like building kinetic connections and creating sort of this equity and giving and being abundant. Like, how can people do more of that at their events? And I mean, you bring such a brilliant perspective because you've done some massive events in your days.
Dude, I mean, it's funny because I'm talking to you, who's also, you're the expert in events, so you know the answers to these questions. But for those who don't know, like fill in the blank, like Mad Libs, one of the main blanks in this is events will build community, events will build trust, events will build so many wonderful things. Especially if you're the host of the event, especially if you are the organizer, the MC, whatever it is, as long as you're associated with the event, from a host's perspective, I'll say. I'll give an example. I have a good friend. His name's Chris Kremitzos. He runs Podfest, the largest podcasting event on an independent level in the world. He's won Guinness Book of World Records, blah blah blah, all the things. He's great. He does micro events under the umbrella of Podfest. And I asked him, hey, dude, I'm an investor. I'm a real estate investor. I want to throw an event called, at the time, the company that I had was called Podmax. So it was going to be Podmax Invest. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't have that company anymore. I closed it down. But what if I took that idea, invited all my investor friends to your event, but now we changed it to Podfest Invest? And he was like, dude, what? And he was like, do it. And I held this event within his event. But here's the thing. He's like, I'm going to give you a warning. He goes, people are going to come to you. All the people, the hundreds of people that are coming to your event are going to think this Podfest, the one with thousands of people in it, is yours. And he said, I just ask that you don't say it's yours, but it's okay to, you're going to be associated with it. And they're going to think that you're an organizer or whatever. It truly happened, dude. Like everyone was coming up to me and saying, dude, this is amazing. Like this was not my event. And every time I said it, they still didn't hear it. They were just like, oh no, yeah, but it's great, dude. Look at all the things that you guys created. So you're still associated. And so what I'm saying is, even if it's not your event, if you're associated in some way as a sponsor or speaker, whatever it is, it's going to bring so much wealth in terms of relationships, in terms of, brand equity, in terms of community. Especially if you truly have something valuable to share, things that people have never heard of or people are afraid of executing on. Man, it's just what you're doing is not easy. I just want to put that out there. But then also, it's so worth all the hard work. So much reward comes as a result of hosting events and having events.
The content activations on site are brilliant, man. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like how, because we've done like sponsor activations where we've leveraged sort of this content activation where it's literally like you and me doing this, but doing it live. And I mean, I hadn't heard of this happening anywhere on site at events until you and I connected. And I was like, oh my gosh, you were doing it years ago before it gained as much momentum and traction as it has today. Talk a little bit more about how brands and event professionals in general could leverage content on site so that the event transcends the four walls of the venue and lives beyond the event itself.
Yeah, there's something about conferences, something about events. It has a unique energy. It's palpable. Like you could feel it. Like everybody's excited, and you have a wonderful way to engage and to nurture them as they come through. As far as making them feel safe, because we always feel a little frazzled and confused when walking to events. But what happens at the event is the energy is undeniable, whether it's nervous energy and then eventually just like joy. But if you can, and you don't necessarily have to be a sponsor, although I would recommend you have a table, you have your branding. That's the ideal situation. But you can also be a participant and attendee and bring recording equipment, bring your cameras, bring your microphones, lights, maybe even, and set it up and record content. And specifically, if you are a sponsor, man, when we used to do this, and you could tell me if it's still relevant, we would be the only sponsor out of dozens that would have literally a chairs or couches and microphones and lights and cameras. And all the other sponsors had pens and mugs and swag and magnets, but we were the only ones engaging the audience and pulling people in and saying, hey, let's have a conversation. And by the way, do you want this recording? We're just happy to give you the raw files as soon as you walk away. Or do you just want us to tag you? What's your information? And let's stay connected. Let's see if we can, help each other. Let's see if we can partner. But dude, when you do that, we would typically record at minimum 75, 80 episodes of a podcast during a 2 to 3 day conference. And it would just be so much because everyone there is re-experiencing it, seeing themselves, and then like all excited to like breathe, just to promote it, to share it. Yeah, dude, there's so much that you can be done just as a company sponsor alone. Yeah. What were some of your experience as you create this contact activation?
I mean, I think you're still spot on. I would say 99.9% of sponsors are still doing the same old, like, archaic way of doing business, and like, yeah, let's hand out some swag items that are going to eventually end up at the bottom of a backpack or in a trash can somewhere because people can't take the swag items with them. And instead it's like, when we're taking this idea now and we're packaging it, like we were in DC 2 weeks ago. We did a franchise conference for 300 different franchise owners of this one specific brand. And we sold for the sponsors, we offered a $5,000 bolt-on to their sponsorship to be able to cherry pick ideal prospects or current clients of theirs that were franchise owners and pull them into the content booth and ask about their product or service live. So these sponsors are obviously trying to sell into the ecosystem, into the environment of all these attendees. You can actually bring those attendees live into a content booth, record a testimonial on why they love your product or service and why they use it. This in particular was a franchise for an early education center. So there were franchise, like for instance, there's a software app that sells their service to all of these different franchisors, so that, you basically, it's like one of those apps where you, like Playground, but it wasn't Playground. I don't know if you're familiar with the app, where you log in and it shows like updates of like your kid and like what they're experiencing for the day and what they eat and how often they get their diaper changed. So this software company was there on site interviewing franchisors and saying, what do you love about our software? What do you love about this product? How can we improve it? Like, give us the insights so we can take back to our development team. And so and we created this content activation, and the sponsors were absolutely loving it, right? Because they're gleaning insights and wisdom and intelligence about what their customers and ideal customers want to see from their brand. And so for us, we think of how does a sponsorship, how does a content activation like this have the ability to touch all of the stakeholders and enhance all of the stakeholders' lives? And not just let's do this sponsorship and print a logo on a piece of paper and say, yeah, we're giving you visibility. It's like, we have to do more for our people. You opened up with this. How do we love on our relationships in a way that like we are increasing and expanding the pie and doing more than anyone else is going to do for them? And this organization ended up making $60,000 as a result of these $5,000 bolt-ons because 12 sponsors said yes to it. And it ended up, building their relationships with these sponsors because they're the only conference organizer that has ever offered them something like this.
Yeah, it's brilliant, man. It's a brilliant play. I think one of the things, especially larger corporations, the thing that starts to sort of dissolve over time as companies grow bigger and bigger is they're disassociated. They don't have a connection with their audience or their customers. And what a wonderful way to actually engage face to face with your consumers, with the clients, with whoever it is that is aware of your brand, showing up and seeing the founder, seeing the owner, seeing the C-suite, whoever it is that you put in charge of the booth or put in charge to have conversations. I know that there were conversations with us that people wanted to hire us as MCs or podcast interviewers for their companies, just because we were so engaged and interested. And it's not for everyone. Not every founder, not every CEO is great at asking questions or doing this type of stuff. It's not really inherent in everyone. But you could find someone that's super into it. Maybe it is your head of marketing. Maybe it is someone on your team that's going to raise their hand and go, I would love to do that. Give me that opportunity. I will crush it.
Yeah.
And then you put them in the seat and you have them foster and nurture these conversations and bring people in. And I forgot to mention that when you do something like this, especially in a bigger conference, you would think that the noise and the chatter and all the people walking back and forth is going to be a distraction. It's the opposite. If you're wearing headphones and you hear that in the content, you sense and feel that energy in the room, and it makes you curious and you have FOMO, and you're like, I need to come to the next event. When's the next event? And throughout the content, you're actually plugging the event. You're like, I'm here at this expo. I'm here at this, and so people hear it, and then they will look it up and engage. Hopefully the next time, because they're like, I don't want to miss out on this one next time. This is great conversation.
I couldn't agree more. Did you hear Chase barking? Yeah. He's so excited about the thing you just shared. He's barking.
He's like truth.
If we could all just get that excited over this. Podcast still the play for building a brand?
Yes, I would say so. People usually associate podcasts with audio, right? Apple, Spotify, but we have to now ensure that when we say podcast, we're also associating it with video. Like that has to be the number one. That is the priority as far as YouTube. Spotify now takes, full video for your podcast episodes. So first and foremost, videos. Think of yourself as, and you can graduate to this or evolve to this, a YouTube channel or a YouTube influencer, because there's two different things, right? There's two different, so I always considered Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast in the world. He's a podcast and he's an interviewer. That's it. He's not looking into the camera doing solo casts and going and putting in B-rolls and like educating his audience on what he knows outside of conversations, with experts. So I would say figure out which one you want to be. Do I just want to be a podcaster that interviews people, or do I want to do solo casts where I am an influencer, a YouTuber, or am I a fusion of both? That's basically where I play. Whereas like I do interviews, and then I also create episodes to try to educate and inspire people. So yeah, video first and foremost, and then figure out which bucket you want to land in.
Love it. Yeah. And I know like there's so many people out there, man, like in our Go Abundance tribe or EO, YPO, different networks we're involved in, that are using their podcasts like to share their story and to connect with people in unique ways, and then invite people into some funnel of some sort because they have an offering or a product or a thing that, an event. And I mean, there's just so much potential inside the podcast. You build momentum, and then you invite people into some funnel, right? So like I was just having a conversation yesterday with the Black Diamond group that you connected me with, and they're fantastic and wonderful and incredible. And I'm going to go out to LA and meet with them, and it's super cool and really exciting. But they've used the podcast platform to invite people to this really exclusive, curated mastermind event. And so podcasting can be used obviously to build pipelines and funnels. Is that still what you're seeing like the main use for, or are there other things that like some of your podcasting hosts and brands are leveraging podcasts for?
Yeah. So I would say that is a good end goal for sure. But I would
Don't do it with the end in
recommend that.
mind.
What's that?
Don't do it with the end in mind. Like,
Yes, because you can get caught up with that, and then people can kind of smell that from a mile away. Like, oh, he's going to sell me something. I would say approach it with a 12 to 18 month time frame and strategy to just provide value, and no worries about selling, no worries about what you're going to hawk, because people will be able to sense it. And also during that time period, what you're doing is you're building your muscle in the gym. Like you're getting your reps in, and and what you're doing is little by little by little, you're getting better, and little by little by little, you're building trust. Because it's hard to trust someone if they're like right away, like, hey, you want to come to my house? Yeah, let's go Netflix and chill. Did they still say that? But it's
yes.
like before that even happens, like, let me get to know you, let me get to trust you. Are you actually the person that I should be following and learning from? Like, and that takes time, consistency, and you truly building a relationship with your audience before you ask them for something. The whole jab, 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 right
Yeah.
hook thing.
Yeah.
It's not new. Yeah.
I guess my suggestion sort of assumes that people are in it for the right reasons and they're authentic and they're not just some sleazy used car salesman trying to sell some product or thing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. You hit the nail on the head, right? Like, I love the idea of like, Tony Robbins always says, give 100% of the information that you have, 100% of everything that you know away for free, and watch your business triple as a result. I love that idea. Like the value exchange, for sure. How do you advise companies repurpose footage, whether it's at an event or something like this? I mean, even as, you and I just click live, go live on LinkedIn. Like, how can companies leverage footage like this in different ways and different sort of platforms to promote and get information across as, many desktops or iPhones as possible?
Yeah. So in order to do that successfully long term, you have to come in with a game plan. So let's do a little BTS, behind the scenes here. Before Joey invited me, I mean, I'm talking weeks, maybe even months prior to this conversation that we're having, he has a document, right? And a list of topics that we would be having conversations with, that are sort of the story flow, and um gives us a good framework so that we don't go super far off the rails. Dude, if you go back to some of my episodes 6, 7, 8 years ago, it's only gratifying for the people that were actually involved in hosting. Like, we were a bunch of idiots just talking, versus like thinking about what the audience is experiencing and what they're going to learn, and how you're going to make sure that you're hitting these beats and you're providing value. Unless you're an entertainment show, like, that's a totally different category. We're talking about business here. We're talking about adding value and helping people, get to the next step or next level. So I think that it's really important to go in with a game plan. And if you do that right, you can begin to repurpose and create evergreen content that you can always go to the bag, always go to the crates and pull from your archives, and start to systematically tag things so that you can go, oh, wait, like, dude, I have hundreds of thousands, probably, I'm exaggerating, but maybe it's just thousands of hours of videos and content where I'm talking about branding that date back to 2017. And I'm talking about personal branding before it even became a term. So it's like, if you're talking consistently about your business over the years, you're going to create so much content that you can go back to, especially if you planned it out, because then now you can just give someone, hey, here's the outline, here's the podcast, here's the transcript. Just find this thing that we're talking about and create whatever, a montage, a trailer, shorts, reels out of all this. But if you're doing it consistently like you're doing, you don't need to go into the bag really, because you're just creating new content versus repurposing old stuff.
Sure. Yeah, great advice, man. Anything else you want to share? Favorite quote or something that's on your mind that we haven't talked about?
Man, we just got out of a call where I don't think it was planned, but the power of AI. AI can be scary, but it could also be leveraged, like a Ferrari. I think we all have Ferraris, Maseratis in our garages, and we're like taking it for a spin around the block at like 15 miles an hour. There are very few people that you encounter that took it on a F1 racetrack, and they're like, yo, I like, and also everyone has their own little expertise where they use it to, be their ghostwriter, because they create content, or you use it to be their COO or integrator in their business. Or you see there's so many use cases depending on the user. So I love that we're sharing information and we're beginning to realize the power of AI. And there has to be people like what you and I have done in joining other tribes to see what others are doing, because there's so much more that we can do if we leverage it. And we have no idea like how to drive this car. We're just like, I just got in here, man. I don't even know. Like, what am I doing? I don't want to hurt myself. Yeah.
The prompts are the prompting, like, the like unpacking that for us and like different prompts that we could be leveraging for our businesses across different platforms was absolutely incredible. Like there was the one platform that reminds you about certain tasks, or another platform that can write, an email drip campaign for you based on the demographics of your audience that you're throwing into the drip campaign, and it automates it and can do it in a second. So yeah, leveraging AI, or the Ferrari that's the utility, the tool in the utility tool belt that we're just now like I haven't even backed it out of the garage yet.
Yeah, it's sitting there, it's charging up, maybe it's an electric vehicle, but yeah, I think it's what we're going to have to do is maybe give ourselves enough credit and grace to say, I don't need to know all the things, because there's never going to be a time or person that knows everything about AI other than AI itself. But I think it's going to be more like, great analogy with the utility belt. You're going to be able to leverage it, and either you're going to decide, I'm going to become Batman, I'm going to become Superman, I'm going to become Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, whatever it is, your superpower, you're going to use that tool to make it even better. So knowing and hearing what other people are doing with this, like, yeah, I don't need it to analyze deals. I'm not really looking at deals, or I don't need it to like train my virtual assistant team because I don't have a huge virtual assistant team. Like things like that. It's like, that's great. You're doing awesome, but I'm using it for this right now in this season of my life. For example, I'm writing a book, and this I didn't mention on the call, but this is a really cool way to leverage it. I use one AI tool called Otter. That's a transcription tool that takes these conversations and transcribes in real time. I like to babble. I like to just talk and riff. So I just, I go, hey, chapter 2, blah, 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 blah. I look at my watch. I'm like, oh, I've been rambling for 15 minutes. I take the transcript, I put it into GPT, and I go, hey, in my voice, because it knows my voice, it's seen all my writings, and I could make sense of what I just rambled for 15 minutes. And it will, and I said, and before that, the prompt is, I need you to be my ghostwriter. So then it does it, dude, in my voice, but a smarter version of me that knows how to write. And I'm like, what? So that is a wonderful way for you to get blogs out there, to get posts out there, content, write a book, just blah, 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 blah. Chat, make this better. And now you're not copying and pasting other people's content. It's actually you, because you're speaking into the microphone, capturing your thoughts real time. And then ChatGPT is really just polishing it up for you.
What's the book? What are you writing?
It's called Be Your Brand, and it's evolved to Be Your Brand to Glorify God. So what it's doing is, I've built personal brands over the years, and a lot of it was egocentric and ego driven. And I've realized through my faith that there's way more than just us. Like there's something way, way bigger than us that we should be glorifying, so that it's not feeding our ego, which eventually leads to a dead end is what I discovered. I was like, oh man, this hurts, man. I'm building this thing and becoming, micro famous, and I still feel empty. I still
Mm.
feel unfulfilled without a real purpose. So that's the focus of the book, is like, you can do this as a Christian business owner. You can build a brand, and it doesn't have to be about you, because that's one of the biggest caveats to,
That's
yeah.
Dude, I love that so much. I just want to resonate with that and share something, because I think that we all go through this, and I'm experiencing tremendous bouts of imposter syndrome. And I just pulled up this text message because I wanted to read it to you verbatim. Last night, I texted one of my buddies and I said, man, scaling a business can be soul sucking at times. Why do I feel like the more we scale, the more imposter syndrome that I have? And his response was, because, man, the more you learn, the more intellectually honest you become. And let's face it, none of us know anything compared to the knowledge that exists out there. And so, man, doesn't that make you feel small? And
Mhm.
so this puts a nice wrapper around our entire conversation, particularly with the imposter syndrome and leading with ego and AI, and how AI is way more intelligent, intellectually savvy than we will ever be. And so we could leverage that to our advantage and realize we don't matter. And like, the thing that it's not currently bringing is compassion and love and connection. So as human beings, we have a tremendous opportunity. We can either frame it as AI bad, or we as human beings that have beating hearts have a tremendous opportunity to just love on other people around us. So with that being said, wrapping up the show, I love you, brother. You're
I love
awesome.
you, man. Hey, dude, what a wonderful way to express all of that and everything that we've covered here on the show, man. Thank you so much for having me, and for your wisdom and for your friendship.
Yeah, man, I'm just, it's an honor to know you. I'm so grateful that Kelly connected us a couple of months ago and our relationship has become what it has. Hey, I'm going to put a cool ticker up on the screen if I can figure out how to do this. And I can, because it's just right here. Boom. Check that out. Onairbrands.com, y'all. Go check Erik out if you're producing a podcast. If you are interested in getting more information about Erik. And Erik, give the just real quick synopsis of your brand. Like, who reaches out to you? A person that's doing a podcast that wants X.
Yeah, a business owner, Christian business owners that are, you know, experiencing levels of success, but don't know how to put that in words, and how to share and add value to a community and grow a community. We typically build podcasts, launch podcasts or YouTube channels for our clients, and all the social media promotion around that. That's really our expertise. But then also, we love helping people hone in on what their core values are, what their systems and beliefs are, and how to share that with the world. And who are they sharing it with? Gaining clarity on who the heck you serve. Like, so many people are unclear on who their audience is. So we really hone in on who you are, who you serve, and then your mission. That's personal branding in a nutshell. But yeah, any and all things personal branding. Launching a YouTube channel or podcast is where it's at, onairbrands.com, or just put my name in front of that. ERIK at onairbrands.com is my email. So happy to chat with anybody here in your audience.
Hell yeah. Reach out to Erik. He's brilliant.